amigas, welcome back. I'm Kelsey Cush, the Sativa Zebra, and today we are talking about extraction again and concentrates and all of that good stuff. Before I get into this part, I did just want to do a little preface because I realized I didn't bring some things up. Extraction is an incredibly physical and physically demanding job, and it's also something that is incredibly dangerous. Yeah, it can be incredibly dangerous if you're not doing, if you're not listening to the person who's training you, if you're not following the guidelines, if you're just, I've had days when I've gone in, when I went into work, and it was just, I was fine. Maybe my head space was a little bit wrong, nothing major, but, maybe I just was kind of in a weird headspace, and, I would burn myself and just or small things would happen just because you're not fully focused on it, and it can cause major issues. So it is incredibly dangerous, and so it's and that's why concentrates are a little bit more expensive, and also why we need to respect and appreciate the people who are doing this job, because in some instances they kind of are putting their lives at risk. I worked primarily in CO2 extraction. That was a choice for me, is I chose to primarily work in CO2 extraction. And the reason why is because CO2 extraction is considered safer, because CO2 is a stable gas. CO2, literally, I'm inhaling oxygen, I exhale CO2. It is something that our body makes. It is natural, it is stable. And because of that, it makes it easier for extraction, and it kind of decreases the concern. Butane and propane are incredibly flammable, incredibly dangerous, and the amount of stories I have heard of people working there, or I've helped with investigations, that's kind of been fun, but it is incredibly dangerous if you are not paying attention and if you're not aware of what to do. And so just to give you, this is one of the, just to give you an idea of how flammable and how dangerous, extraction is, and this job is that, and so I know this story because the cops came to, our facility, to my facility, and was basically asking us to explain the extraction process to help them with their investigation, because they, they're cops, they don't know fucking anything about weed or cannabis extraction. So, and yeah, anyways, they came here, and basically it's really crazy. What happened was there was this company, they were going about their daily things. They were starting the post production and basically the steps to purge out any of the residual solvents, to clear it and to get it to the point of packaging. That's what they were doing. And what they did not know was that in the extract that they had just pulled, that there were still pockets of butane in there. It happens. There's CO2 pockets when we pour out those. And so it's kind of why you have to be slow, and you have to be methodical about when you apply your heat. And anyways, so there were pockets of butane, and it might have been a butane propane, I'm just gonna say butane. But so there were pockets in their oil, and they had a heat gun. To my knowledge, the heat gun was not on. Basically, it was just warmed up, and I guess someone went to go pull it, and a spark came from when they were pulling it out, because they were gonna switch it from one outlet to another. And when they pulled the plug, there was a spark. That spark was enough to light up that propane or that butane and cause an accident and cause major property damage, and it actually injured the person who was working. I believe that they were safe, that things were taken care of, but you literally just don't know. It is something that, anything can happen. I got a 2nd-degree burn because I wasn't paying attention, and it was with my heat gun, and I felt like the stupidest person in the world, because I use heat guns all the time, and it was my 2 weeks within that job, and I was I've been using heat guns for years, and I've never burnt myself, and of course now, 3 weeks into this job, I'm gonna get a fucking 2nd-degree burn and have to go to the emergency room while I'm working. Great. Anyway, so yeah, it's a dangerous job. Like, you are picking up, you know, heavy tanks of your gases. So it could be, you know, from, like I said, I work primarily in CO2, so I had to move CO2 tanks all the time. You might have to move butane propane tanks. I mean, these machines are massive, and so when I was flipping them, like, it's not an easy job. Like, you have to have drills, and you're like unscrewing this stuff, and it is hard fucking work. There are lots of ways to like pinch your hand, or like even ways for some of them where it's like if your hand was somewhere, you will probably just lose a finger. Like, it's crazy. It's a hard, difficult, dirty, crazy job. But yeah, so I did want to preface that because, you know, I see videos and things about like people like learn how to make the shatter at home, do it yourself and guys, I literally have done this job. I know how to do it properly. I do not make my own concentrates at home because my life means more to me. I'm not gonna risk my life just so I can make it slightly cheaper. I'd rather, like, I'm gonna go buy someone who I hope is doing everything safe, and yeah, like, I'm not going to put my life at risk, especially since I live in Colorado. I mean, you can get this stuff really cheap. Preface, like, just so you guys know, like, this is not an easy job. This is not, like, extraction is difficult, it is hard work, it is dangerous, like, it is crazy. Like, this is how I would train my guys too, is that everything about concentrates, everything comes down to temperature and pressure. That's it. And it's funny because, like, you'll see the steps of it and it looks very complicated and it looks very crazy. And if you're in a lab, you see all these things and you need all these things to get, you know, to make the best product. But, like, really, literally all it comes down to is temperature and pressure. Those two things. That is all you are manipulating when you are making your concentrate products. You are manipulating either the pressure, the temperature, or both. And by doing that, that's how you get these different types of products. So, and it literally starts from when you put it into an extraction machine. So this is a very common thing. Depending on what the flower is being used for, the pressures will change. A lot of times the companies keep the temperatures at the same for the extraction process. Not always. I do want, like, not always. I know that it depends. Typically, though, you know, there's kind of like one temperature for the extraction, and it's mainly just because as you do the job, you kind of realize that a lot of the temperatures can just stay the same, and that stuff doesn't need as much variance as maybe the pressure does. They will put it in at a specific pressure, and that pressure is also going to determine how liquid or how solid the oil is, the wax is, the concentrate is. The other way that determines it is the terpenes. So when I did my job in CO2 extraction, the way you do your terpenes is you normally start that at a very low pressure and a very low temperature. That is usually the one time when you do decrease your temperature. And the reason why is terpenes, I've said this before, terpenes are very, very delicate, and so they are very easy. Like, you lose, I would say, about half the terpenes by the time it's in the extraction. By the time it's gone through extraction, you've lost over half of the terpenes in there. The terpenes that we are tasting, like, when it's in this concentrate form, are not the same ones as, like, when you smell it. And even then, the ones that you smell in dried cured flour is not the same terpenes that you smell when it is fresh and it is on the plant still. Like, cannabis is just magical. It's really crazy. But so, because those terpenes are so gentle and they're so picky and finicky, you usually do a run. Some companies will literally just run only for the terpenes. They don't run for the THC. They, like, you know, they will get really good flour that has great terpenes, and they'll, like, do other stuff that's just for the THC basically, and they'll combine it. Some companies don't do that. They will do a terpene run, at the lower pressure and the lower temperature, pull those, and then they will boost all that stuff up, and then they will do the run for the THC. It just depends on every company's specific standard operating procedures, because that's the big thing, is every company has their own. I believe, just from my experience, that pretty much most companies are working within the same parameters. Like, you know, there might be slight difference depending on the machines that they have. But for the most part, most companies are working within the same kind of parameters, but because of how the cannabis industry is, it's super secret, and it's like, oh no, don't tell anybody. It's you know, it's very difficult. And it's kind of like, this is why I like cannabis, is that there are times when, you know, I've had 2 batches of flower. 2 batches. They come from the same harvest batch, they come from the same, you know, grower, everything's the same. It's technically an identical plant. And then we extract it in 2 different batches, and one will come out just gorgeous and golden and just like, you know, without even needing much work, it's already looking just like a super pure, beautiful fucking, you know, flower. And then sometimes I'll have this other one that'll just come out really liquid, and it's still potent, but it's just more liquid than the other one. It's not so much of that oil, and that's like hard, it doesn't solidify as much. And so a lot of that just comes from, you know, the actual chemical makeup of the plant too. Okay, so there are different types. You know, there's butters, waxes, shatters, diamonds, live resins, all of these. There's so many different types. Live resins are the least processed. Live resins do not even go into a traditional extraction machine. Live resin is also technically something you can make at your house. That's true, because all live resin is you're not putting it into a closed loop system or anything. All you do is you press it down, you press all your flour down and compress it. As you compress it with the heat, the terpenes and all, like, and the trichromes and everything break off and becomes a liquid, comes down, that turns into the resin or the rosin, and then you can smoke that. That is the least processed type of concentrate, and it's incredibly flavorful. And the reason why is because it's a lot quicker. It's not sitting in there. So like in CO2 and especially like CO2, it takes hours. Like it is usually a minimum of a 12-hour run. For like butane propane, those are better. Those are like 3 hours to do a full run. But for that time, it is just cycling in there, and it's just constantly going. It's a closed loop system. And basically that just continues to degrade any of the terpenes, any of those, you know, flavors. Whereas with the rosin, you do it for a shorter amount of time. You might not get everything out of the flour, but it's, you know, it's fine because you're getting the good stuff. You're getting that delicious, you know, flavor, those terpenes, those trichromes, all of that stuff. So that's kind of like, yeah, that's how you make like a live resin, technically, like traditionally. Obviously, there's probably some people that do things differently. I'm not the be all end all. I've worked in the industry and I've done a lot of research into this stuff because I love it and I think it's so much fun. And then I've also gotten to like go in and like go behind the scenes and make it. So like, I'm gonna tell you guys what I know. Butters, shatters, again, it really comes down to like the extraction process is all the same. Well, not the same, like I said, they will change the temperature, they will change the pressure, but all of them will go into some type of extraction machine and they will be, you know, flushed with butane, propane. Typically that's what it has to be for a shatter or a butter. It cannot be a CO2. CO2 just doesn't really work for that. That's more for oils and then for edibles and vapes. Butane, propane is kind of where it's at for waxes and butters. Yeah, the temperature and the pressure that they put it on the extraction machine is what determines how the extract is going to look. If it's going to look more liquid, if it's going to look more solid. And then as you do your post-production, it will also change. So like sometimes they will put them at a lower heat depending on what kind of consistencies they're looking for. Sometimes they'll put it at a higher heat. So like you can have really liquid stuff like this. Yeah, and yeah, up to a part, it's kind of like how much well, for this, you don't extract the terpenes separately, is for concentrates. So that's also kind of why you have to be careful about your temperature and your pressure settings. Like I said, you guys, this is like literally, and I would say this when I was training people, I was like, people, like, it does look super cool. It looks amazing. It looks fancy as fuck. And like, it is really exciting to do this job. But it's kind of boring because once you realize that everything comes down to pressure and temperature, you're kind of just like, okay, well, is the temperature right? Oh, it's not? Then decrease the temperature or increase the temperature. Oh, wait, that's supposed to be a high, like, it is. You're going to get bored of me if I keep making these videos because I will literally just say pressure and temperature, pressure and temperature. Like, I mean, that's what I even said it in my last one for the distillate. How do you make the distillate? Pressure and temperature. It changes in the thing, the pressure and the temperature changes, and then it comes on the inside. It's so cool. God, I wish I had videos of that. I lost them. I wish I could show you guys a video of that process because it's really, really cool. Yeah, I mean, they all, yeah, I don't know. They're just, it's very fun process and it's very interesting. And then it's also, I don't know. It's just, I love extraction. But yeah, so it's like, you know, you can have, let me open this one. So you can have something like this. And so if you can see, and I'll post better pictures, I think. So that's really just kind of like, it's kind of dry. And then you see, I'm gonna just hold this. And then you have like this guy, the shatter. You know, and yeah, pretty much the only differences between this shatter, this, you know, drier wax, and this wetter wax is just, let me open that, is just the temperature and the pressures that they set it. Like, that's really all the differences for these. One place where it does get a little bit different, oh, and it's the same for this one. Like this one, let me show you this. So this is another wax. This wax is incredible. It's almost like a, you know, it's falling apart. It's kind of like shatter because of how hard it is, but you can't see through it. So it's just like a really hard, dry wax. Hopefully it can, like I said, I'll take some pictures of this. And yeah, that's just dependent on the temperatures and the pressures. That's all. That's the only difference, is what their temperatures, pressures were at for their actual like processing phase, and then also their post-processing phase. And that's one thing I will say is I divided it in my brain as processing is when it's in the extraction, when you're doing, you know, your actual legit extraction. That is processing. Post-processing is when it's in the lab, when you're purging out any of your residual solvents, removing lipids, waxes, etc., and like getting it prepared to be sold. That is your post-processing, because at that point you're just trying to make it a better quality to sell. So that's how I divide it up. But yeah, so basically those are the same no matter what. Where things get a little bit different, where they start to change, is when the company wants to make a diamond, or yeah, typically they call them diamonds. Sometimes they call them like diamonds in sauce. And so I have two. So like I've showed this one, you can't really see because I only have like one diamond left on it. Yeah, you can't even see. It's just like, oh, there you go, baby. So that's my baby diamond. I've been hoarding or like saving on to that one for so long for a special occasion. Or you have like, come on, there we go, like that big ass diamond. And this is, yeah, so traditionally, not always, but traditionally, when a company makes a diamond, a lot of times it's some of their better, higher percentage flour. And the reason why is that's just a little bit easier to get it to crystallize. And for this, honestly, it's really weird. There's only one major difference. Only one. So they do the extraction process. The extraction process is the same. But then instead of like doing the traditional purging and all of that, what they do instead is you pour it into like a mason jar or some sort of, something that you could seal and set aside for a while. You pour it in and it's like super liquid. Like it kind of looks like an oil when it's at that stage. Like it looks, it's kind of like an extrovert, like an olive oil or something. Like it's kind of a weird, consistency, but it, so it's really easy to pour into those jars. But then you have to just seal it and you let it just sit. And as you let it sit, it pressurizes inside the glass, and that pressure is enough to start converting that THC and turning those into solid crystals. Because again, THC in its purest form is a crystal. So when you're doing this, you're trying to get it to become pure THC. So like, so this is the fun thing. This is one of the little tricks and like one of the things that you know about when you work in the industry. So when you see these crystals, those crystals are 100% THC. That's what a crystal is. It is the purest form of that THC. The reason why you'll see that these potencies are normally not 100% though, and a lot of times they'll be anywhere from the 80s to 90s, is because of the terpene content and the terpene quality. Terpenes do not have THC in them. They have other cannabinoids that are what give you the effect. I've gone into terpenes a lot. I'll see about linking one of those videos to this, and that way, you could go watch that if you haven't seen it. But terpenes are just flavor. They're the smell. They are the effect. And so terpenes actually, like, consistently, we know this, and this is this is something that is well known, is when you add your terpenes, your potency goes down. It just happens because it's out of a percentage. And so since those terpenes don't have any cannabinoids, don't have any THC, your potency is going to go down. I think this one, this is by Bentz. Yeah, this one says 81% potent, but that is just pretty much due to the terpenes around it. And let me tell you, when I smoke this, I have a really good time. And so that's really the only difference is like, depending on what they set the parameters when they extract it and what parameters they set their vacuum oven at, and like their, some places will do again, it depends on if they're trying to make the shatter, if they're trying to make a butter. Traditionally, for like a butter or a wax, they don't remove any additional fats or waxes or lipids. Those are kind of just, they keep them in there because those do, like, technically, they don't do anything. Like, those fats and lipids are just kind of in there. They're just kind of like freeloaders. But I am very much a believer, and it's just been from when I taste and like try products that are less processed versus more processed, I find I traditionally have a better high with those ones that still have those fats and lipids in there, which is why I do traditionally go for waxes. And so even though, like, and I do believe that those waxes and lipids just kind of help the effect take in, like, I don't know for certain, but it's just, from my experience, from using so much, from smoking a fuck ton of concentrates because I can, and because a lot of times I would get things that I had to try, and so I was like, don't ask me twice. But yeah, so that's basically it. That's really the only differences between your different types of concentrate products is temperature and pressure. And then if they're making a diamond, traditionally it will get, put into some sort of like a mason jar or something else like that, closed, and just put aside for months until it solidifies. And then you take it out and boom, you got crystals. And yeah, that's about it. I think I covered everything I wanted to, which is very exciting. Yeah, I hope you like this. So I didn't get high in this video, mainly because I had a crazy week, and I'm gonna make another video, and I'm gonna maybe post this sooner, like maybe the day after, or like sometime of the weekend, to just go over to like chat with you guys and like hang out, because things were crazy. Yeah, so like look out for that if you want to just chill and we can get high together. And yeah, like now you know some things about concentrates, and you can like go share that knowledge and feel super fucking cool with yourself. And like also realize that, yeah, it's like, I don't know, I feel like when you look into extraction and everything, it's super intimidating, and then you get into it and it's just like, it's not. It's really just, you know, you gotta be smart, you gotta be aware of your surroundings, because if you are not, that's when things happen. And then also you just gotta like have fun with it. Like, yeah, a lot of times people take things really seriously, and you know, at the end of the day, it's like, you're working with weed. Like, come on guys, like chill the fuck out. But yeah, so that's gonna be, I think that might be it for this video. Who knows, I probably will realize after, like once I'm finished editing this, that I forgot something. So I'll make sure to like keep you guys informed if things change. If there's anything that is incorrect and someone knows better, like please put that, like, as long as you're respectful. Like, I don't give a fuck about most things, but if you're not respectful in my comments, then you can get the fuck out of here. I don't need you. I don't want you. Be respectful. Don't be a dick. And yeah, like you can be like, actually, according to my place, we do it like this, because like I said, I'm not the be all end all. This is just my experience. This is from, you know, what I've seen with my own eyes and what I've done with my own hands. So that's what I'm giving you this knowledge from. Maybe it's outdated. I don't believe so, but you know, I will never, ever, ever say that I am, you know, the like full-on expert, the be-all, like I'm never going to say that I know everything. Nobody ever does. If someone does, they are lying to you. Don't listen to them. If you like this video, please like actually like it, and that way I know. And then if you yeah, like I will be making some more edible videos. I will get into like things and the craziness that's been going on in my next videos. If you want to see that, like subscribe so you can stay up to date. Yeah, then I just hope that things are looking up and that you are doing well. And I don't know, I things are crazy, and I love you, and I want you to be safe, and I want you to take care. And yeah, I hope you are gonna, like, I hope you know that you're loved and that you're valued. And yeah, but all right, so have a great rest of your week, guys. I love you.